The Galactic Crisis. In the vast expanse of the Milky Way, where countless civilizations had risen and fallen over millennia, an unprecedented crisis loomed. The Zephyrians, a peaceful race of ethereal beings from the distant Lyra constellation, faced extinction. Their home planet, Ether, orbited a dying star on the verge of collapse. As news of the Zephyrians' plight spread across the galactic community, the response was not one of unity and compassion, but of calculated indifference. The Galactic Consortium, a loosely organized collective of advanced species, convened an emergency session to address the situation. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez, representing humanity, sat uncomfortably in the ornate chamber of the consortium's headquarters on Alpha Centauri. As a relative newcomer to interstellar politics, humanity held little sway among the older, more established species. Elena watched as holographic projections of various alien representatives flickered to life around her. "Order. We shall have order," boomed the resonant voice of High Counselor Sixnath, a towering insectoid being from the Andromeda galaxy. His compound eyes surveyed the assembled delegates. "We are here to discuss the fate of the Zephyrians. Ambassador Krelthok of the Draconian Empire, you have the floor." A reptilian creature with iridescent scales rose, its forked tongue flicking out as it spoke. "The Draconian Empire sees no benefit in intervening. The Zephyrians possess no strategic value, and the risk of approaching a collapsing star is too great. We vote for non-intervention." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Elena felt her heart sink as species after species echoed similar sentiments. The Arcturians cited resource constraints, the Pleiades Confederation worried about setting a dangerous precedent, and the Silicon Collective calculated a mere 0.1% chance of successful intervention. As the debate raged on, Elena's mind drifted to the Zephyrians themselves. Reports described them as beings of living light, capable of manipulating energy in ways that defied conventional physics. Their cities were said to be crystalline structures that pulsed with the collective thoughts of their inhabitants. And now, all of that beauty and potential faced annihilation. Ambassador Rodriguez, Sixnath's voice cut through her reverie. "Humanity has been uncharacteristically silent. What is Earth's position on this matter?" Elena stood, her palms sweaty but her voice steady. "Thank you, High Counselor. While we respect the concerns raised by our esteemed colleagues, humanity cannot in good conscience stand idly by while an entire species faces extinction." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien voices. Some expressed surprise, others derision. Kralthok's serpentine laugh cut through the noise. "And what exactly does humanity propose to do? Your species has barely mastered faster than light travel. You lack the technology and experience for such a monumental task." Elena's eyes narrowed. "Perhaps what we lack in experience, we make up for in determination. Humanity volunteers to lead a rescue mission to evacuate the Zephyrians." Silence fell over the assembly, broken only by the soft hum of holographic projectors. Sixnath leaned forward, his antennae twitching with curiosity. "You understand the risks, Ambassador. The radiation alone from the dying star could destroy your ships before they even reach Aether." "We do," Elena nodded solemnly. "But we also understand the consequences of inaction. Every sentient being has the right to survive, to thrive. We cannot call ourselves a civilized galaxy if we abandon those in need simply because helping them is difficult." The Arcturian representative, a being of pure energy contained within a force field, pulsed with an angry red hue. "This is madness. You'll trigger a diplomatic crisis. The Zephyrian star is within the Draconian Empire's sphere of influence. Any unauthorized intervention could be seen as an act of war." Elena turned to face the Draconian ambassador. "Is this true? Would you go to war to prevent us from saving lives you've deemed unworthy of saving yourselves?" Kralthok's scales rippled with barely contained rage. "Watch your tone, human. You overstep your bounds. The Empire will not tolerate any incursion into our territory, regardless of the intent." The debate devolved into chaos, with various factions arguing amongst themselves. Alina stood firm, her resolve strengthening with each passing moment. She thought of Earth's history, of the times when people had turned their backs on those in need, and the catastrophic consequences that followed. As the session stretched into its fifth hour, Zixnath called for order once more. "It is clear that we have reached an impasse. As per consortium law, we cannot prevent humanity from undertaking this mission, nor can we officially sanction it. Ambassador Rodriguez, know this: if you proceed, you do so without the support of the Galactic Consortium. The consequences, whatever they may be, will be yours alone to bear." Elena nodded, a mix of determination and apprehension churning in her stomach. "We understand and accept those terms." As the session adjourned, Elena made her way out of the chamber, her mind already racing with the monumental task ahead. She activated her neural link, connecting directly with the United Earth government. "Madam President," she said, her voice low, "the consortium has washed its hands of the Zephyrian crisis. We're on our own." There was a moment of silence before the president's voice resonated in Elena's mind. "Then we do what humanity does best, Ambassador. We defy the odds. Initiate Operation Starlight. May God have mercy on us all." As Elena strode towards the Earth Embassy, the weight of billions of lives, both human and Zephyrian, pressed down upon her shoulders. The stars above twinkled indifferently, unaware that humanity was about to challenge the very fabric of galactic politics in a desperate bid to save a species they had never even met. The stage was set. Humanity's greatest test lay ahead, and the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. Humanity's bold decision. The atmosphere in the United Earth government's war room was electric with tension. Holographic displays flickered with real-time data streams, showing the status of Earth's fledgling interstellar fleet and the increasingly dire situation on Aether, the Zephyrian homeworld. President Adira Khoury, a woman whose dark skin bore the marks of both age and wisdom, stood at the head of the oval table. Her piercing gaze swept across the assembled leaders, military commanders, scientists, diplomats, and ethicists from every corner of the globe. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice carrying the weight of the decision before them, "we stand at a crossroads. The Galactic Consortium has made their position clear, or rather, their lack of position. The Zephyrians face extinction, and we are their only hope." Admiral Zhao Chen, head of the United Earth Space Force, cleared his throat. "Madam President, with all due respect, this mission is beyond risky. It's nearly impossible. Our ships aren't designed to withstand the kind of radiation we'll encounter near a dying star. And that's assuming we even make it past the draconian blockade." Dr. Aisha Patel, the lead xenobiologist, interjected. "But think of what we could learn. The Zephyrians' ability to manipulate energy could revolutionize our understanding of physics. Their biology alone could advance our medical science by centuries." "At what cost?" countered General Maria Santiago. "We'd be risking war with the Draconian Empire. They've made it clear that any intervention in their territory will be seen as an act of aggression. We've barely established ourselves on the galactic stage. Are we ready to make enemies of one of the most powerful forces in the Milky Way?" The room erupted into heated debate. Arguments flew back and forth, each point weighted with the gravity of its potential consequences. President Khoury listened intently, her face an impassive mask as she absorbed every perspective. As the arguments reached a fever pitch, a quiet voice cut through the noise. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, an unassuming physicist with a shock of white hair, spoke up. "We've all seen the simulations. In less than 3 months, the Zephyrian star will collapse. An entire civilization, billions of sentient beings, will be wiped out. Can we live with ourselves if we do nothing?" A hush fell over the room. President Khoury nodded slowly. "Dr. Tanaka raises a crucial point. This isn't just about politics or scientific advancement. It's about our humanity. Throughout our history, we've faced moments that defined us as a species. the abolition of slavery, the first moon landing, the global climate accord. Each time, we chose to be better, to reach higher. She paused, looking each person in the eye. I won't order anyone to participate in this mission. The risks are too great, but I'm asking for volunteers. Who among us is willing to risk everything to save a species we've never met? For a moment, the only sound was the soft hum of the holographic displays. Then, slowly, hands began to raise. Admiral Chen, Dr. Patel, even General Santiago, her face a mix of resignation and determination. President Corey's lips curved into a small smile. Very well. Let Operation Starlight commence. Admiral Chen, you'll lead the mission. Dr. Patel, assemble a team of our best xenobiologists and physicists. We need to figure out how to safely transport the Zephyrians. As the room buzzed with renewed purpose, the president turned to her chief diplomat. Ambassador Rodriguez, your job may be the hardest of all. We need allies. Reach out to any sympathetic species in the consortium. We'll need all the help we can get. Elena nodded, her mind already racing with potential strategies. What about the Draconians, Madam President? Do we attempt negotiations? President Corey's expression hardened. We extend one final olive branch. But make our position clear. We're proceeding with or without their blessing. If they choose conflict, so be it. As the meeting adjourned, a flurry of activity erupted across the globe and beyond. In shipyards orbiting Mars, engineers worked around the clock to modify Earth's interstellar vessels for the perilous journey. On Luna Base, scientists pored over every scrap of data on Zephyrian biology, devising ways to sustain their unique life forms during transport. In her office atop the United Earth Tower in New Geneva, President Corey gazed out at the stars, visible even through the light pollution of the sprawling arcology. She activated her neural link, connecting to the global broadcast network. My fellow citizens of Earth, she began, her voice reaching every corner of the planet, and the off-world colonies. Today, we embark on the most challenging and important mission in our species' history. As she spoke, laying out the risks and the moral imperative of their decision, a wave of emotions swept across humanity. Fear, pride, anticipation, and hope mingled in the hearts of billions. In orbit, the crew of the UES Horizon, Earth's most advanced starship, made final preparations. Captain Zara Nkrumah stood on the bridge, watching as her crew, a diverse mix of the best humanity had to offer, worked with focused intensity. Captain, her XO reported, all systems are go. We await final launch authorization. Zara took a deep breath, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. Understood. Patch me through to mission control. As the countdown began, humanity held its collective breath. In living rooms and public squares, in domed cities on Mars and mining outposts in the asteroid belt, people gathered to watch. This was more than a rescue mission. It was humanity's declaration to the galaxy, a statement of who they were and what they stood for. The UES Horizon's engines flared to life, a miniature sun igniting against the backdrop of space. As the ship broke free from Earth's orbit, setting course for the distant Lyra constellation, a cheer went up around the world. Humanity had made its choice. Come what may, they would face the challenges ahead united in purpose. The mission to save the Zephyrians had begun, and with it, a new chapter in human history. The perilous journey, the vast emptiness of interstellar space stretched before the UES horizon, broken only by the distant pinpricks of starlight. Inside the ship, Captain Zara Nkrumah stood at the helm, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display showing their trajectory towards the Zephyrian home system. Status report, she commanded, her voice steady despite the tension that thrummed through the ship. Lieutenant Commander Hiroshi Tanaka, the ship's science officer, spoke up. We're approaching the edge of draconian space, Captain. No sign of their patrols yet, but our long-range sensors are picking up increased activity ahead. Zara nodded, her mind racing through potential scenarios. They had known this moment would come, the point of no return. Once they crossed into Draconian territory, there would be no going back. Comms. Any word from our diplomatic team? Communications Officer Aisha Mbeki shook her head. Nothing yet, Captain. Ambassador Rodriguez is still in negotiations, but the Draconians aren't budging on their stance. A grim silence fell over the bridge. They all knew what that meant. If diplomacy failed, they'd be on their own against one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. Suddenly, alarms blared across the ship. "Multiple contacts," shouted the tactical officer. "Draconian warships decloaking dead ahead." On the main view screen, a fleet of sleek, predatory vessels shimmered into existence. Their hulls gleamed with a metallic sheen that seemed to absorb light, making them look like voids cut into the fabric of space itself. "Red alert. All hands to battle stations," Zara ordered, her voice calm but authoritative. "Shields up, weapons on standby. But do not, I repeat, do not fire unless fired upon." The tension on the bridge ratcheted up as the Draconian fleet moved to surround them. A communication request flashed on the main screen. "On screen," Zara commanded. The reptilian face of Admiral Kisark, Supreme Commander of the Draconian fleet, filled the view screen. His scales shimmered with barely contained rage. "This is your final warning, humans," he hissed. "Turn back now or face annihilation." Zara stood tall, meeting the alien's gaze without flinching. "Admiral Kisark, we mean no disrespect to the Draconian Empire. Our mission is purely humanitarian. Surely, the Empire can see the value in preserving the unique species like the Zephyrians." Kisark's forked tongue flicked out, tasting the air. "Your concerns are noted and dismissed, Captain. The Empire's decision is final. You have one standard cycle to alter your course, or we will open fire." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the bridge in tense silence. "Options?" Zara asked, looking around at her senior staff. Chief Engineer Raj Patel spoke up, his voice tinged with excitement despite the dire situation. "Captain, remember that experimental phase shift technology we've been working on. It's not fully tested, but it might just get us past the Draconian blockade." "And the risks?" Zara probed. Raj hesitated. "It could tear the ship apart, but if it works, we'll slip right through their forces like ghosts." Zara weighed the options, her mind racing. The lives of her crew balanced against the fate of an entire species. With a deep breath, she made her decision. "Do it, Mr. Patel. Prepare the phase shift drive." The engineering team worked feverishly, rerouting power and making last-minute adjustments. On the view screen, the Draconian ships tightened their formation, weapons charged and ready. "Phase shift drive ready, Captain," Raj reported, his voice tense. Zara nodded. "All hands, brace for potential spatial disruption. Engage phase shift. Now." A low hum built throughout the ship, rising to a crescendo. The very fabric of space around the horizon seemed to ripple and distort. For a heart-stopping moment, it felt as if the ship was being torn apart at the seams. Then, suddenly, they were through. The Draconian fleet vanished from their sensors, replaced by open space. Cheers erupted on the bridge, quickly silenced by Zora's raised hand. "Status report. Did we make it through intact?" "Hull integrity at 92%, Captain," reported Lieutenant Yuki Sato from engineering. "We've got some structural damage, but nothing critical. The phase shift drive, however, it's fried. We won't be using that trick again." Zara allowed herself a small smile. "Well done, everyone. But don't celebrate yet. We're still deep in Draconian space, and we have a long way to go." The journey to the Zephyrian system was fraught with danger. The Horizon dodged Draconian patrols, navigated treacherous asteroid fields, and pushed its engines to the limit. Each day brought new challenges, testing the crew's resolve and ingenuity. As they entered the Lyra constellation, the effects of the dying star became apparent. Radiation levels spiked, forcing the crew to rely on experimental shielding technology. Strange spatial anomalies warped the very fabric of space-time around them, making navigation a nightmare. Dr. Aisha Patel worked tirelessly in her lab, studying the data streaming in about the Zephyrians. "Captain," she reported one day, her eyes wide with excitement, "I think I've figured out how to safely transport the Zephyrians. Their energy-based physiology is compatible with our quantum stasis fields. We can essentially freeze their energy signatures for transport." It was a breakthrough, but it came with a catch. "The stasis fields will require enormous amounts of power," Aisha continued. "We'll have to divert power from non-essential systems, including weapons and some life support." Zara nodded grimly. "Do what you have to do, Doctor. We didn't come all this way to fail now." As they approached the Zephyrian homeworld, Aether, the sight that greeted them was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. The planet glowed with an ethereal light, its surface a swirling pattern of energy and matter. But looming behind it, filling half the sky, was its dying sun, a bloated red giant on the verge of collapse. "My God," whispered Commander Elena Rodriguez, who had joined the mission as diplomatic liaison. "We're cutting it close. How long do we have?" Lieutenant Commander Tanaka consulted his instruments. Based on these readings, less than 72 hours before the star goes supernova. The gravity of their situation settled over the bridge like a heavy blanket. They had traveled across the galaxy, defied an empire, and pushed the boundaries of science, all to arrive with barely 3 days to save an entire civilization. Zara stood, her voice cutting through the tension. "You heard the man. We have 72 hours to pull off the impossible. Let's get to work." As the Horizon entered orbit around Aether, the crew prepared for the most challenging phase of their mission. They had come to save the Zephyrians, but first they had to make contact and convince them to leave their homeworld behind. The fate of 2 species now hung in the balance, with the clock ticking relentlessly toward cosmic catastrophe, confrontation, and cooperation. The UES Horizon hung in orbit around Aether, its crew working feverishly to establish contact with the Zephyrians. The planet below pulsed with energy, its surface a constantly shifting tapestry of light and color. "Any response to our hails?" Captain Zoran Kruma asked, her eyes fixed on the mesmerizing world beneath them. Communications Officer Aisha Mbiki shook her head. "Nothing yet, Captain. We're broadcasting on all frequencies, using every translation algorithm we have. But it's possible their method of communication is completely beyond our understanding." Dr. Aisha Patel spoke up from her station. "Captain, I have a theory. The Zephyrians exist as pure energy beings. What if their entire planet is one giant communication network? We might need to attune our signals to match the planet's energy frequency." Zara nodded. "Do it, Doctor. We're running out of time." As Dr. Patel and her team worked to recalibrate their communication systems, a new crisis emerged. Long-range sensors blared a warning. "Captain," Lieutenant Commander Tanaka called out, "multiple ships dropping out of FTL. It's the Draconians. They found us." Zara's jaw clenched. "How long until they're in weapons range?" "At their current speed, less than an hour," Tanaka reported grimly. The bridge fell silent, the weight of their situation pressing down on every crew member. They were trapped between a dying star and an advancing enemy fleet, with billions of lives hanging in the balance. Suddenly, Aisha Mbiki's console lit up. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the planet." On screen, Zara ordered, her heart racing. The view screen flickered to life, but instead of an image, it displayed a swirling pattern of light and color. A voice, unlike anything they had ever heard, filled the bridge. It was less a sound and more a feeling, resonating in their minds rather than their ears. "Visitors from beyond." The voice feeling said, "Why have you come to our world in its final hours?" Zara stepped forward, her voice steady. "I am Captain Zoran Kruma of the United Earth Ship Horizon. We've come to help. Your star is dying, and we want to evacuate your people to safety." There was a pause, the swirling pattern on the screen shifting and pulsing. "We are aware of our star's imminent death. It is the natural order of things. Why would you, strangers from distant stars, risk yourselves for us?" "Because it's the right thing to do," Zara replied simply. "Every sentient being has the right to live, to thrive. We couldn't stand by and watch your civilization be destroyed if there was any chance we could help." Another pause, longer this time. When the voice feeling came again, it carried a note of what might have been curiosity, or perhaps hope. "Your words are strange to us, yet they resonate with truth. But how can you hope to save us? We are beings of pure energy, bound to the unique properties of our world." Dr. Patel stepped forward. "We've developed a method to store your energy signatures in quantum stasis fields. It's not permanent, but it will allow us to transport you to a new world where you can reestablish yourselves." As they conversed with the Zephyrian consciousness, explaining their plan and addressing concerns, the Draconian fleet drew ever closer. Zara split her attention between the delicate negotiations and the looming threat. "Captain," Tanaka warned, "the Draconians are hailing us." Zara took a deep breath. "Put them through, but maintain our link with the Zephyrians." Admiral Kesark's reptilian face appeared on a split screen, his eyes burning with fury. "You were warned, humans. Your interference ends now. Surrender immediately, or be destroyed along with the Zephyrians." Zara stood tall, her voice unwavering. "Admiral, I appeal to you one last time. We're trying to save billions of lives. Surely, even the Draconian Empire can see the value in that." Kesark's scales rippled with anger. "The Empire's decree is final. Open fire." The first volley of Draconian weapons fire streaked towards the horizon. But before it could impact, something extraordinary happened. The energy bolt suddenly veered off course, dissipating harmlessly in space. The Zephyrian voice feeling resonated once more, this time with a power that made the very ship vibrate. "We have observed your actions, humans. You risk everything for us, against your own interests. We will not let you face this threat alone." A brilliant light engulfed the horizon, extending outward to form a shimmering barrier between the ship and the Draconian fleet. On the planet below, colossal streams of energy began to rise from the surface. "The Zephyrians," Dr. Patel gasped in awe. They're coming to us." Streams of living light poured into the horizon, filling the quantum stasis chambers one by one. At the same time, the ship's systems began to pulse with newfound energy. "Captain," Raj reported from engineering, his voice filled with disbelief, "the Zephyrians are interfacing with our systems. They're enhancing our shields, weapons, everything." Zara's eyes gleamed with determination. "Well then, let's show the Draconians what humanity and Zephyrians can do together." Battle stations. As the horizon engaged the Draconian fleet, empowered by Zephyrian energy, the evacuation continued. It was a race against time, with the star growing more unstable by the minute, and the Draconians pressing their attack. In the midst of the chaos, humanity and the Zephyrians forged a bond that transcended physical form, a partnership born of compassion, courage, and the shared will to survive against all odds. The battle for Aether had begun, with the fate of two civilizations hanging in the balance. Triumph and consequences. The space around Aether erupted into a dazzling display of energy weapons and shimmering force field. The space around Aether erupted into a dazzling display of energy weapons and shimmering force fields. The UES horizon, infused with Zephyrian energy, moved with unprecedented agility, dancing between Draconian cruisers with impossible grace. "Shields holding at 130% capacity," reported Lieutenant Yuki Sato, her voice tinged with awe. "The Zephyrians' energy is not just protecting us, it's making us stronger." Captain Zoran Kruma stood at the center of the bridge, her eyes darting between tactical displays and the swirling chaos outside. "Focus all fire on their flagship. If we can take out Admiral Kesark, We might be able to end this quickly. The Horizon's weapons lashed out, bolts of human technology intertwined with streams of Zephyrian energy. The Draconian flagship's shields buckled under the onslaught, sections of its hull beginning to buckle and tear. But the Draconians weren't going down without a fight. Their return fire was relentless, and despite the Zephyrian enhancements, the Horizon couldn't dodge everything. Direct hit to Deck 7. Raj's voice crackled over the comms. We're venting atmosphere. Emergency force fields are holding, but barely. Zara gritted her teeth. Seal off that section. How's the evacuation progressing? Dr. Aisha Patel's voice came through, strained but determined. We're at 60% capacity. The Zephyrians are coming aboard as fast as we can process them. But there are billions to save and our time is running out. As if to emphasize her point, the dying star flared ominously, sending a shockwave of radiation that buffeted both fleets. Stellar collapse accelerating, warned Tanaka. At this rate, we have less than an hour before supernova. The battle raged on, a desperate dance of survival against the backdrop of impending cosmic destruction. The Horizon struck decisive blows against the Draconian fleet, but took heavy damage in return. Decks were exposed to vacuum. Crew members fought to contain plasma fires, and through it all, the stream of Zephyrian energy beings continued to pour into the ship. In the midst of the chaos, a new signal cut through the comms. Captain, Aishambiki called out, "We're receiving a transmission from Earth." President Adira Kuri's face appeared on the view screen, her expression a mix of concern and determination. Captain Kruma, status report. Zara quickly summarized their situation. The ongoing evacuation, the battle with the Draconians, and the rapidly deteriorating star. The president's eyes hardened. The Galactic Consortium is in uproar. Some species are calling for sanctions against Earth. Others are inspired by our actions. A coalition of races is dispatching ships to your location, but they won't arrive in time. She paused, her next words heavy with implication. You have full authority to take any actions necessary to complete your mission and ensure the survival of your crew and the Zephyrians. Godspeed, Captain. As the transmission ended, a plan began to form in Zora's mind. It was risky, possibly suicidal, but it might be their only chance. Mr. Patel, she called to engineering. Remember how we used the phase shift drive to slit past the Draconian blockade? Yes, Captain, Raj replied. But the drive was fried. It's beyond repair. We don't need to repair it, Zara said, her eyes gleaming with determination. We need to overload it. Dr. Patel, could the Zephyrian's energy be used to power the drive beyond its normal limits? Dr. Patel's eyes widened as she grasped the plan. Theoretically, yes, but the spatial distortion would be massive. It could tear a hole in the fabric of space-time itself. That's exactly what we need. Zara nodded. Here's the plan. We'll evacuate as many Zephyrians as we can in the next 30 minutes. Then, we overload the phase shift drive. The spatial rift should disrupt the Draconian fleet, and if we're lucky, buy us a few extra minutes before the supernova. The crew sprung into action with renewed vigor. As the minutes ticked by, the Horizon's holds filled with the energy signatures of billions of Zephyrians. The ship groaned under the strain, systems pushed far beyond their design limits. Finally, with the star entering its final death throes and the Draconian fleet closing in for the kill, Zara gave the order. All power to the phase shift drive. May fortune favor the bold. The overloaded drive activated with a sound that seemed to tear reality itself. A massive rift opened in space, its edges crackling with eldritch energies. The Draconian ships closest to the anomaly were twisted and torn apart, while others were flung far across the star system. In the confusion, the Horizon made a desperate run for open space, its engines straining as it dragged the remnants of a dying civilization away from their doomed homeworld. Behind them, Aether's star finally gave up its long battle against cosmic forces. In a blinding flash of light and energy, it exploded into a supernova, the shockwave racing outward faster than any ship could hope to flee. "Brace for impact," Zora shouted as the wave approached. The horizon shuddered violently as the supernova's energy washed over it. Alarms blared, systems failed, and for a terrifying moment, it seemed as though they had come so far only to fail at the final hurdle. But then, a miracle occurred. The Zephyrian energy suffusing the ship coalesced, forming a protective cocoon around the battered vessel. As the wave passed, the horizon emerged, battered but intact, carrying with it the hopes and dreams of two civilizations. As emergency systems kicked in and the crew began to assess the damage, a cheer went up throughout the ship. Against all odds, they had done it. They had saved the Zephyrians. In the days that followed, as the horizon limped back towards Earth, the consequences of their actions began to unfold. The Galactic Consortium was in turmoil, with many species inspired by humanity's bravery, while others feared the upset to the established order. The Draconian Empire, humiliated by their defeat, withdrew into their borders, issuing ominous threats of future retribution. Other races reached out to Earth, seeking alliances and cultural exchanges. As for the Zephyrians, work began immediately to find them a new home. Their unique energy-based nature presented challenges, but also opportunities for collaboration and advancement that excited scientists across the galaxy. Standing on the horizon's observation deck, watching the stars streak by, Captain Zoran Kruma reflected on their journey. They had set out to save a species and had ended up changing the course of galactic history. As if sensing her thoughts, a shimmer of Zephyrian energy coalesced beside her, taking on a vaguely humanoid shape. The now familiar voice feeling resonated in her mind. "You risk everything for us," it said. "A species you had never met. We did not understand such actions before. But now we begin to see. Perhaps this is the true power of the universe. Not conquest or isolation, but connection. Compassion. We have much to learn from each other." Zara smiled, gazing out at the vast expanse of space. "That's why we explore," she said softly. "Not just to discover new worlds, but to discover the best in ourselves. And to show the galaxy that sometimes, just sometimes, the most unlikely species might just be brave enough to change everything." As the horizon continued its journey home, carrying with it the seeds of a new future, one thing was certain: the galaxy would never be the same again. Humanity had arrived on the cosmic stage, and they had done so not with weapons or threats, but with outstretched hands and open hearts. The adventure was just beginning.